HLA-B27, the gene, and the myths around it. Basically, does HLA-B27 mean that you're going to get or have a arthritic condition? So, for example, axial spondyloarthritis or axpar, let's just call it axpar, that's easier, or ankylosing spondylitis or psoriatic arthritis or reactive arthritis. If you have that gene, does it mean you're going to get one of these? Not necessarily. But that is the gene that is associated most commonly with those conditions. So if you get tested for it, which is a very easy test, it's just a blood test, and they look in your genes and they go, oh, they don't look in your genes. They look at your genes from your blood, and then they say, okay, yes, you've got that gene, HLA-B27, or you haven't got that gene. So one of the things is it is genetic, being a gene, in that you inherit it from your bloodline, whether that's your mother's side or your father's side. So if one of them got it, there's an increased chance that you have it. But there we go. One of the myths is that they cause the disease. That's not incorrect. They can't cause the disease on its own. It's got to be like, this gene has got to be like triggered or switched on to then cause the disease. There we go. That's kind of how it works. Right, I'm going to read out a few little bits here I've got on my screen behind me to give you an idea of what it is as an actual gene. So most genes associated with arthritis belong to a family of genes called the human leukocyte antigen, HLA, part of the HLA-B27, right? Complex. So these genes provide instructions for making a protein found on the surface of white blood cells. So that, therefore, it helps your immune system tell the difference between your own cells and harmful pathogens like viruses, bacteria, stuff like that. And when those faulty HLA genes are triggered and become active, your immune system may not be able to perform its proper job effectively. So immune system becomes compromised, lowered, whatever you would like to call it. Okay, so that's kind of how it works. So HLA-B27 has got to have a trigger. Once it's triggered, your immune system is then lowered, and it be triggered by whatever bacteria or virus or what have you. Okay, I think trauma can do it as well, but there we go. Don't quote me on that one. Okay, so it's linked with ankylosing spondylitis. Again, I'll read this because there's quite a lot there and I can't be bothered to learn it all by heart. I kind of know it, but you know, it's easier to read, isn't it? So there are hundreds of HLA genes, each identified by a different number. By the way, I'm getting this information from the Arthritis Foundation. So arthritis.org, just go and check that out if you want to read any more into those kind of areas. So there are hundreds of HLA genes, each identified by a different number. So this one gene, HLA-B27, is the one associated with the big family of rheumatic diseases, as I mentioned earlier, called spondyloarthropathies, which are axial spondyloarthritis, axial psoriatic arthritis, and reactive arthritis. Sorry, I always struggle with that word. These diseases mainly cause pain, stiffness, and inflammation in the spine, hip joint, and enthesis, places where ligaments and tendons attach to the bones. Basically, you've got a joint there, a ligament there, a tendon there. It has potential to hurt. With these sorts of diseases, they're systemic, meaning they can get you anywhere within the body. It's not just like there's a great saying, it's not just back pain. Yes, back pain is probably one of the biggest kind of symptoms, but it's not all about that at all. It can hit anywhere in your body at any time, sometimes for no reason. But there we go. It's common with people who have inflammatory bowel disease, interestingly, okay, or uveitis, however you pronounce that, which is the inflammation of the eye, which is horrible stuff. The greatest association with all of those, though, is something called ankylosing spondylitis, which is what I have. Now, I won't keep saying ankylosing spondylitis because loads of people can't say it because it's a weird name. So I'll just call it AS from now on. So the ankylosing spondylitis mostly attacks the lower back, spine, that sort of area. But as mentioned before, it's systemic. Right, okay. Are you ready for this? Statistic time. As many as 90% of white Northern Europeans with AS carry the HLA-B27. So, there you go. But it's not true of other ethnicities. How weird is that? Okay, so Black Americans have more severe disease than whites, but far fewer carry HLA-B27. Hispanics and Chinese Americans rank somewhere in between. In contrast, HLA-B27 is almost non-existent in Japan, so Japanese doctors use other markers to help diagnose and monitor AS. Now, how about that? It's weird, isn't it? There's also a lot of scientific evidence to back up that the gene can change the makeup of the gut microbiome. So when you've got bacteria, whether you've got good and bad stuff in your stomach, for example, like there's all the microbes and all that sort of thing. The HLA-B27 can disrupt those and cause you to have more of the bad stuff than the good stuff, and then the gut lining doesn't kind of work as well as it should do, so the bad bacteria can leak out into your body and effectively get into your joints, and so from a scientific perspective, bad stuff going into joints is not good. There you go. That's not a scientific kind of way of looking at it. That's a layman's terms kind of way of looking at it, because I don't know enough about that area. So it's got a lot to do with the gut. Have a good diet, basically, and that will certainly help the situation if you've got, the leaky gut situation going on. Right. So, testing for HLA-B27. The gene doesn't confirm diagnosis. It just, when you get diagnosed with, like, say, ankylosing spondylitis, it's one part of a lot of tests that they do, and rather than just kind of on its own. So the HLA-B27 itself is just kind of, it's part of a puzzle, best way of looking at it. But it's tested with just a simple blood test, and that's it. In terms of treatment towards this, it's genetic, it's in you. There's no getting rid of that gene effectively. But as far as treatment goes, there are, if you want to kind of target the gene itself, There's biologics that kind of target that specific gene and kind of suppress it, and hopefully leading you to a better situation in terms of management of the whole condition. So there we go. That's kind of like my little kind of information on HLA-B27. I've kind of gone on a bit about a few other things in there, but any questions, leave your comments below as usual, and I'll get back to you on those. All right, thank you very much. Bye bye.